The theme today is Bridgwater Carnival, and this is particularly close to my heart as I hail from Bridgwater. I'm particularly delighted to welcome our guest, Chris Hocking. First of all, I'll give you a little overview of Carnival. So Bridgwater Carnival is the UK's oldest carnival and one of the largest illuminated carnival processions in Europe, taking place every November in Somerset. And what often goes unnoticed is the phenomenal craft and engineering skills that go into constructing the ever more elaborate carts as rival carnival clubs try to outdo each other and win the coveted carnival cups. And all this driven by huge volunteer effort. But this year in particular, something unprecedented happened as clubs put aside their rivalries to work together on a collaboration to build a cart to grace the route of Her Majesty's Platinum Jubilee Pageant. Chris joined Bridgwater Carnival in 1967, and after a 10-year spell with Marketeers Carnival Club, he joined the organising committee in 1985 as publicity officer, a role which he fulfilled for 19 years before he became the president of the carnival in 2004. Chris has compared the annual Bridgwater Carnival concerts for 18 years, and on Carnival Day he becomes the voice of Bridgwater Carnival, providing the commentary for the live streaming of the event, which is broadcast to an international audience through the wonders of modern technology. As one of the team of directors of Bridgwater Carnival, Chris has the responsibility of developing new and exciting projects, and he also organises the live entertainment programme for Carnival Day as a prelude to the parade and squibbing. Hi Chris, how are you? Lovely to see you.
Oh, Daniel, many thanks. Gosh, I didn't realise I did so much.
You're a very busy man. So I believe you're going to give us a bit of an overview of the Jubilee pageant cart, and then we'll open it up to questions. So are you happy to proceed?
Yes, yeah, thank you very much indeed. And good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Now it's after 12 o'clock, isn't it? As Daniel said, I'm a director of Bridgwater Guy Fawkes Carnival. I've held the director's role for nearly 40 years now, and I'm now sort of the lead for any projects which are outside of our normal carnival activities. So anything that nobody else wants to do, it all gets handed over to me to sort out. So I'm the one who takes responsibility there. The thing I really want to talk to you today about is the pageant itself, but before that, the carnival was formed in 1881, officially formed in 1881. It's a celebration of the failure of Guy Fawkes to blow up the Houses of Parliament in 1605, and as far as we know, celebrations had been going on in the town ever since then, but it wasn't until 1881 that the first official organised parade was staged in Bridgwater, and that makes us the oldest carnival in the UK. There is a claim from a carnival based on the Isle of Wight, but they are 7 years younger than us, so we stick by our claim of being the oldest. We're also the largest illuminated carnival in Europe, which might surprise a lot of people. But I have been to several carnivals in Italy and France and elsewhere. And although their carnivals are very spectacular, they don't have the same amount of entries or the same length of parade as we do. So I think we can justifiably claim to be the largest illuminated carnival in Europe. And if Andrea could go on to my next screen, thank you. Carnival in Bridgwater is all about community. It brings people together from all walks of life. Carnival throughout the world is all-inclusive, and that's the great thing about Carnival. It doesn't exclude anybody from any of its activities, and Bridgwater Carnival is no exception to that. We welcome people from all ages, all groups, all sexes, all ethnicities. Everybody who wants to be part of Carnival can join in and take part or support Carnival in any way. The community of Bridgwater is very much involved in Carnival. There's seldom a family based in the town that hasn't got some connection with Carnival, whether it be a participant or a supporter or a vice president, or even somebody who just attends one of our regular fundraising events. Every carnival club in the town has to raise its own funding to take part in the carnival every year. And this can amount to anything between 30 or 40 or 50,000 pounds that has to be raised by each and every carnival club that takes part. And so there's a lot of fundraising activities which take part in the town, and that involves people attending events, either the fetes or the cabarets or stage shows, or even the weekly bingo sessions, which all help to raise funds for the individual carnival clubs. So very much a community-based organisation, and the feeling is that if you took Bridgwater Carnival away from the town, then there would be very little for the community to enjoy and to get involved in. Thanks, Andrea. Next one. The carnival is very much a volunteer-based organisation. Nobody in Bridgwater Carnival, that is, gets paid for any of the work that they do within carnival. It is very much a social activity, very much a hobby for everybody, and that includes me and all of my fellow directors. We all do it for the love of carnival and for being involved in an organisation with such a long background and such a long history. And it's a very proud organisation to belong to, as it does form such a big part of our community. The volunteers who take part in carnival, again, come from all walks of life. They join a carnival club perhaps, and they get involved in creating their carnival entry. There are three elements to Bridgwater Carnival. There's the annual carnival concerts, the annual carnival itself, and the squibbing, which is the display of fireworks at the end of the carnival procession. Squibbing is unique to Bridgwater. It's the only place in the whole world where you can actually see the Bridgwater squibs. And if you want to see what that involves, then maybe a look at our website will give you a little bit of background into it. Probably a little bit too long for me to describe here now with this presentation. But the people who come along to volunteer, a lot of people find that they don't have any skills when they join carnival. They just want to be in carnival for a bit of fun, which is my main focus when I first joined carnival, was to have fun and to enjoy my social life. But they soon find that there's more to it than just having a bit of fun. You have to get involved in all sorts of things. But most of all, it does teach you new skills, new craft skills, whether it be painting, carpentry, welding, engineering, dressmaking, makeup. There's such a range of skills involved in carnival that it's very difficult to find a skill that isn't involved in the process of making a carnival entry. Thank you, Andrea. As I mentioned, a lot of crafts are involved in carnival. I first joined carnival in 1967, and I didn't know what to do, and I took up a paintbrush and I developed my painting skills to such an extent that after a few years I was the main artistic creator for one of the carnival clubs, and I did all of their fancy artwork on the carts and also on the stage sets and things like that. But people do find that they do develop their crafts that might be laying dormant, or that they might like to pursue, and they do find that a lot of these crafts, by learning them within carnival, do lead to progressing their career in the workplace. So it is very important that people are able to learn their crafts through carnival. Thank you. And so on to the main purpose of my talk today, which is about the pageant entry in Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee last year. Thank you. I think the next slide explains a little bit more. No, I received an invitation on the 6th of April 2021. I had a phone call from the Arts Council asking me if I'd be interested in a project that was coming up, and that somebody from London would be calling me to give me more information. And that immediately, I immediately said yes, I'd be more than happy to discuss anything regarding carnival and how we can help develop it. And Adrian Evans, who was the pageant master in London, subsequently gave me a call and gave me a little bit of background information, but asked me to sign a non-disclosure agreement before he could release all the details in full. This gave me a little bit of a problem because I'm very difficult at keeping secrets, but I did sign the order, and for a couple of weeks, I think my wife was suspecting I was having an affair because I was having these phone calls and conversations on the quiet, and she didn't know what on earth was taking part. But I was soon able to tell her and fill her in, and also to expand the invitation to a few other people to tell them what it was all about, because there was no way that I could start to begin to put this whole idea together without their support. So we were given a design brief, which was to reflect the Queen's 70 years on the throne. Also something that would depict the monarchy, to incorporate the pomp and ceremony of the royal household, and to include reference to the Commonwealth as well, which was very important, particularly to Her Majesty the Queen. And so we were asked to include that in our design. It was also an idea to replicate the street parties. Obviously, with a lot of Jubilee celebrations over the years, there have been many street parties, not just for the Jubilees, but also for royal weddings. We did avoid the royal divorces, but we went on to the Jubilees and the weddings. So we were able to incorporate all of those in our design process. Thanks, Andrea. So we came up with the title Jubilation, being the Jubilee and the celebration of the Queen and her reign. There were two elements to our entry in the parade. The first would be the carnival cart. Most people call them floats, but here in Bridgwater we call them carts. And our carnival carts are anything up to 30 meters long, 5 meters high and 3 meters wide, which in English is 100 feet long, 17 feet high and 11 feet wide. And so that was going to be the main focus of our presentation, and we felt that we could put the monarchy and the royal aspects of that within to the cart design itself. And the street parties would be formed by dancers in the street, celebrating the street parties and coming up with some designs and ideas for that. So we had a two-pronged attack in our project for the jubilation, for the pageant. Thank you, Andrea. So for our entry, we for the main part, for the cart itself, we used a lot of craft skills, as you can see here on the slide. The design work, the engineers, the paper mache masks and models that we use, dressmaking, painters, carpenters, electricians, because ours is an illuminated carnival. So we would have to include some lighting, sound and systems, and also the logistics of getting the cart from Bridgwater to London, which in itself was quite a task, and involved us travelling up to London with the entries on the back of 3 low loader vehicles, having the entry checked by the police on the way in, and then having a police escort all the way into central London. So the logistics was quite a task in itself. Thanks, Andrea. So our original design to incorporate the royalty side of it and the monarchy side of it was to depict the royal crowns and the lions and the carriages, and this was the very first sketch that we came up with. From this we progressed to the next slide, which I think if you click again on that, Andrea, it should move. Any luck? Yes, here we go. This is a CAD design which was created by one of our team of designers. On the front of the cart there, you'll see the royal crest depicted there with the lion and the unicorn either side of it. The crown in the middle of the cart there, which would turn and revolve. the carriages with spinning wheels. The whole roof would rock from side to side, and we incorporated the beefeaters alongside as well. And the idea was that the beefeaters would be lifting their staffs and raising the roof, and their legs would be moving as well. And at the back of the cart, again, we replicated the royal crest with the lion and the unicorn alongside. Okay, thanks, Andrea. So work began. I think you're going on again. So next, so this was the actual color version of what you've just seen, just a portion of the cart, and you can see how colorful we intended to make the entry, very much reflecting the style of Bridgwater Carnival entries over the years, and creating the royal significance there. The cart would have to be lit, even though the parade was a daytime parade. We felt it was necessary to have it lit because that reflected the true style of our carnival entries. And many of the items there you can see were moving as well. So a lot of engineering skills had to be brought into creating the actual movement part of it, and to support the structure as well. Thank you. We also had to create costumes for the cart, and these were the original designs that were came about from our costume designers. Basically, we tried to keep it as simple as possible. So the trousers and the skirts of the ladies was something that which we were able to buy rather than to make ourselves. But the Union flag waistcoats and the epaulettes and the capes and everything else that went on there were all handmade by our team of dressmakers, as well as the hats as well. So it's very much a dedicated team of designers there and dressmakers. Thank you. Also, for the dance parade part of it, we decided for the street parties, the scene that you can see in the top left-hand picture on your screen was what we created for the street party. And this is one of our groups of carnival clubs in Bridgwater, the company called the Wilf's Carnival Club. And we put the project to them, and this is what they came up with. And basically, it's tables which are created out of polystyrene, onto which were stuck in some way with cakes and drinks and all sorts of stuff that you would find on tables at Jubilee street parties. All of those foodstuffs and drinks were all actually hand knitted or made out of foam or plastics or what have you, and all created by the members of the Wilfs themselves, who also created the costumes. So a lot of skill, a lot of craft skills used in the creation of those entries. The people in the right-hand corner of your screen are some of the dancers. We created a dance parade which took the costume styles of the 70 years of her reign. So for each decade, we had a costume style which was portrayed by the group of dancers, and they were all trained to do their dance movements, and we had several rehearsals where that all happened. In the top right-hand corner, you can see a handsome young man there waving the flag of St. George, dressed in his bowler hat, who was having a whale of a time. He was having a real party, not keeping to any of the dance movements, but having a whale of a time anyway. So it's a wonderful occasion, and we all thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you. Going back to the cart itself, the cart comes in 3 sections. We have the towing vehicle, which in this instance was a converted lorry. We have the main cart, and we have a cart at the back which is used to house the generator, which would power the lighting, the sound, and also all of the cart movement. So we purchased an old Volvo lorry from, well, it had a royal connection. In fact, we actually purchased it from a company in Windsor, so quite close to Windsor Castle. And from that, we converted it into the other 2 photographs that you see on this slide. a feat of engineering and craft work there, because we had to move all of the mechanics, make it so that the driver sits in a central position and lower down on the ground. So the whole conversion of that, in fact, was done in record time, I'm told. It took about 6 weeks, working at basically just weekends and a couple of evenings a week. So the engineers really worked very hard on creating that in a very short space of time. Thank you. And then on to the main cart itself. This is on the left hand side, you can see the CAD drawing again for the design of the steel structure, and the photo on the right shows it in place. The whole of the steel structure would actually be rocking from side to side to give that rocking movement, and that is what formed the very basis of the cart itself. Thank you. So a lot of engineering skills taking part there, the welding and getting everything into position. So a lot of craft engineering work going on there, and also fiberglassing. We had two very experienced model makers from one of our carnival clubs who took a little bit of persuading to take part. They had actually retired from carnival about 4 or 5 years ago, a little bit reluctant to come back into it. But when I told them what the entry was for, they decided it was one of those things that they should be part of and should get involved in. I did tell them at first that all we needed was a lion and a unicorn at the front of the cart, and then as work progressed, I did say, well, we now need one of each at the back of the cart as well, plus 12 beefeaters' faces, and their job description increased almost every week when I saw them. But from there, they actually made the models out of a basic wooden structure, covered it with chicken wire and molded that into shape before paper mashing it, and then creating these really magnificent models, which were then fiberglassed by the three people you see there and others as well. So fiberglassing is very much part of it, and gives the structure a lot of strength. Bearing in mind we had to move the cart 150 miles to London and bring it back again, it needed a lot of strength to make sure that the whole thing didn't fall apart en route. Thank you. And these are the models there, and one of the guys, one of the two model makers, they're twins actually, and it's remarkable because they act as one person. If one of them gets tired of doing something, the other will take over, and you wouldn't notice any difference. So they made these magnificent lions and unicorns, which are 14 feet high. They made 12 different beefeater faces, all of which had their own character, and we had to include all different types of backgrounds. So we had male, female, we had different ethnicities there as well, and each and every one was an original. So magnificent craft work there involved in creating those fantastic models, which really did set the whole of our entry off tremendously. Thank you. Also painting, a lot of the painting skills there. This is a basic painting, which a lot of the people involved took part in doing. From there, a lot of the final touches were done by spray painting, and that really created a magnificent 3D effect, and was really helped lift the whole of the cart tremendously. And the skills of the spray painters are absolutely amazing. Something I've always wanted to do but never got round to doing it. But I'm never too old to learn, so one day maybe they'll let me loose on that. Thank you. Dressmaking. A lot of the cart, well, all of the cart costumes, with the exception of the trousers and skirts, were all handmade. This person here cutting out the costumes does a lot of dressmaking for one of the clubs, and he used a technique which I wasn't familiar with previously, and that was to make the Union flag. He used double-sided carpet tape, and would put the materials on top of one another using that, which I didn't think would survive, but it survived the pageant, and it has survived another 10 carnivals afterwards. So it must be a good technique to use. And he and a team of about 5 or 6 others put together all of the costumes, and also made the hats, decorated the hats and everything else there. For the parade costumes, the dance costumes, we did get many of those costumes off the internet, mainly because we had 142 costumes to make for the parade, and there was no way that we had the sufficient numbers of dressmakers to do all of that work for us. So all of the dance parade costumes were purchased, but we did make some changes to them to create their own style. The costumes for the tables were all handmade by 1 or 2 people within their club. Thank you. You just had a sneak preview of this. This was the cart as it was having its finishing touches in London. We took the cart up to London on the Friday afternoon. It travelled on the back of 3 low loaders, but because of the height of the motorway bridges, we were only able to go up to 14 feet with the build, and then we had to put the final 2 or 3 feet on top. And this, you can see in the picture, this is how they did it, and it all went together like clockwork. The actual trip to London was not without incident. They managed to get a puncture on one of the low loaders on the way up, followed by another puncture a couple of miles further along. So they had to stop off for that. And the police inspection, which took place at Heston Services, about 10 miles outside London, took about 4 hours. We had sniffer dogs and everything going all over the cart. And then they had a police escort all the way into Horse Guards Parade, where we were given this area to finish off the cart. And as you can see, the cart now is almost in its final position, ready to move off. Thank you. And this is the cart actually in the parade itself. This is a picture taken in Birdcage Walk in London, just after we'd passed Buckingham Palace. The route took us along Whitehall, past the Cenotaph, through Admiralty Arch, down the Mall, around the Victoria Memorial, outside Buckingham Palace, and then back into Birdcage Walk, about 1.5 miles, which took just over an hour to complete. And as you can see, the cart is there in all of its glory, and with the people on the cart there performing and dancing to the music. The music we had was called Celebrate Good Times, which was originally recorded by Kool and the Gang, but we used a different version. But it really did sum up everything that we needed to say within Carnival and the celebration of the Jubilee. Thank you. And that's quite an interesting picture. This was just before the start of the parade. The timing of the parade was down to the last second. We were advised that we would leave Horse Guards Parade at 1:53 and 15 seconds. And I didn't time it to the exact second, but it was there or thereabouts. We were told we would move to the Parliament Square, and we would move off from there at 3:38. As you can see from the Big Ben clock there, it's 3:20. So we had a little bit of time before we actually moved off, but everything was to actually clockwork and kept a time, which kept us running at quite a pace at some point. Thank you. So it really was the people's pageant, and it brought the communities together. It brought people from 17 different Somerset Carnival clubs, all working together to create the entry. At the start of the project, I was told that we would never have people from different clubs working alongside one another. without some disagreement. We had absolutely none of that. Everybody worked in great harmony, and everybody says what a wonderful occasion it was. It brought people together and created new friendships. There's lots of people who I knew by name within Carnival, but had probably never spoken to before. But I now feel as if I know over 200 people who I can definitely say I can have a conversation with and can call them friends now. It was a magnificent way of bringing everybody together. It also came at the time when, because of the pandemic, we didn't have a carnival in 2020 or 2021. And so it gave people the chance to rekindle their enthusiasm for Carnival, and also to tell people that Bridgwater Carnival is back. And on the back of that, we had the most amazing Carnival parade in Bridgwater in 2022, with a crowd, a record crowd of over 150,000. And I've never seen such a large audience at a Bridgwater Carnival. It really did bring the people's attention to what we here in Somerset can do with our carnivals. And on that screen, you can see that just the numbers of people who are involved in everything there. Over 200 people, which is absolutely amazing when you consider that a carnival club probably only has 30 or 40 active members. But to get 200 people actually working on the parade was absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Thanks. And you can see a very proud young man there sat in front of the cart just before the parade moved off from Bridgwater to London, which is why the line is wrapped in polythene. But yeah, it was just a wonderful experience. And I hope I've been able to share some of that with you today.
Yes, amazing. Thank you.
It's been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you, Chris. What you achieved. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Tilly's there giving you a round of applause quite rightly. Yeah, just to think if the parade organizers had tried to commission a commercial business to create that, I don't think they would have had a chance of doing it with in the time frame that you did it, with the skills that you've already got within that community. Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Yes, I mean, we are very fortunate to have such talented people here in Somerset who can put these carts together. It amazes me. I was involved in one of the carnival clubs in the late 60s, early 70s, and really not been involved quite as much as I was for the pageant. And to see how they go about making a carnival cart these days is absolutely mind-blowing. It really is. It even amazes me after all my years in carnival.
We're going to open it up to questions, but I'd like to kick off with a question of my own. The design used a lot of kind of royal iconography with the coats of arms and the crowns. Did you have to get sign off from the palace on the use of that?
We had to get everything signed off, yes. We were asked to submit our design to the pageant master, Adrian Evans, and he had to get permission from the palace, certainly for the use of the royal crest, for the way we depicted the beefeaters, and even down to the music. So yes, we had to get everything signed off before we could actually start work on it. Yeah.
And following on from that, did you get any feedback from any of the royals? Did you hear their opinions on it?
No, unfortunately not. We did see I recorded the pageant because obviously I couldn't watch it live. And it was interesting to see the faces of the royals as the cart went by, and some of the expressions, and although you couldn't hear them, you could read their lips as to what they were thinking about the entry. So yeah, no, we haven't had any royal feedback, and I'm still waiting for my CDM, my Cadbury's Dairy Milk medal from them, but I'm sure it's in the post.
I'm sure it is. Right,
it's coming just before Christmas.
It would be great to open any questions to the floor. Has anyone got any questions for Chris? Feel free to just unmute. Tilly?
Yes, Tilly. Yeah.
You're on mute, Tilly. You're on mute.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you now.
Thank you very much indeed for sharing that. What a wonderful thing to see. Obviously, I'm on the west coast of Wales, and going to see the pageant was not going to be possible. So you've opened up a little for me. I don't have a television, so there was very little seen. A wonderful example of teamwork. Could I ask, what is the kind of general mix of people that you have? Is it all ages, or mostly one demographic age, or how does it work out?
It's all ages, all demographics, people of any abilities or no abilities. Anybody is welcome to take part in Carnival. The youngest person who took part in the parade itself was 10 years old. And the oldest was not me, but somebody beat me by a year. He was 75 and he took part in the parade as well. So all ages. And that's not just in the parade, but also in the build as well. We had people working with all ages out at where we built the cart, and everybody mixed together. It was just amazing how everybody joined in and wanted to be part of it. Quite often within Carnival clubs themselves, they do have one or two disagreements with members, and people walk away from it. We had none of that with this project. Everybody wanted to be part of it, and everybody mucked in, and it was a fantastic atmosphere. And many new friendships have been formed, and those friendships continue. It's been a remarkable experience.
Indeed, and I think they should be very proud of themselves, everybody, for attaining such an amazing result. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question, Tilly. And following on from that, I think we tend to hear a lot nowadays that people aren't as community minded as they used to be. But what you've presented has completely contradicted that. What do you think people get from being involved in Carnival in general? Because presumably a lot of them are doing this alongside full-time jobs. There's probably a lot of demands on them. Sometimes they might feel like not turning up to Carnival, but they do. What do you think motivates them?
It is going back to Tilly's comment there about being proud. You're proud of being able to be part of this wonderful organisation and proud to take part in it. And you're actually proud with whatever results you achieve, whether you achieve a winning entry in Bridgwater Carnival or you're just there to take part. It is the pride that you take in whatever you do. It's also a big social activity. People come together every week to discuss their ideas or to make their whatever they're making for their carnival entry, or to fundraise. It really does bring people together. And being the oldest carnival in the country, it does mean that we have generations of people within the same clubs. We have grandparents, we have parents, we have sons and daughters, and even great grandsons and daughters taking part. So it is very much a generational thing. A lot of the clubs are family based, but it just brings people together. It is an amazing organisation for that. I think that's what people sometimes forget, is how it does bring people together, and how it is something that people just love to be part of.
Definitely. Any more questions from the floor? Jill?
Well, a comment that, and a thank you, Chris, absolutely fascinating. I've never been involved in anything like your parade, your carnival, or whatever you like to call it, but I do know the value of joint projects, how much it is great to get together. And one of the things that has been missing over the past few years is the opportunity to actually be with other people and do things together. Well, you're talking about the oldest ongoing carnival. I've put in the chat that they've been going a long time, and there is an amazing piece of lace made in the beginning part of the 17th century that illustrates many of the figures from a 1615 Brussels civic parade. Have you come across it, Chris?
No, I haven't come across that particular aspect, but I do know that carnivals in general go back even further than that, probably into the 13th century. I grew up very much in Italy. Italy seems to be the foundation of carnivals. Very much a master and slaves scenario, where slaves would take over the master's role and the masters would take over the slaves' role, and that's how carnivals in general have developed. And you particularly see that in the Caribbean and in South America. A lot of the carnivals are based on that, and very much of a religious nature as well. Very much a Roman Catholic original concept. It's carnival. Carnivale meaning to give up meat. So it's the period before Lent, and that's when carnivals in general began. And to a certain extent, they still continue in Europe around about the Lent period. A very big carnival in Viareggio in Italy is certainly one of those, and in Nice in France. Lots of carnivals take place just before Lent begins. So the religious connotations have since gone away from carnival, but it's still very much a celebration of people coming together, really, and doing things differently.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Can I can't find it on the computer, so I don't know whether you can see this image.
Oh yes, yeah. Oh, that's
Here.
magnificent. Yes. Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
That's from the Omegang.
Yeah.
And any suggestions how that would have been made in the 17th century?
It looks very much like a basic frame structure, a wooden structure, perhaps, very much as we do with our carts to this day. You make a structure and then cover it up. It looks probably like material, or as you say, lace.
I think it's that isn't lace.
Right.
It's fabric.
Very much.
I've assumed it was over something like bamboo framework or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Quite a lot of the carnivals of Viareggio, for instance, the one I've just mentioned, they use a lot of paper mache, but they form their structure out of willow.
Right. Yeah, I think I was thinking of willow rather than bamboo.
Yeah, and I think they still do it to this day. And
Right.
if you do manage to get to this place, they've got a lovely carnival museum, and you can actually see the very basics of the structure of the willow faces that they make, or the willow structures, and then they paper mache on top of that.
Right.
And again, the creativity. I showed you the beefeaters' faces, but it's amazing how they manage to mold and model things in before they actually put the paper mache on. And you think you're never going to get anything realistic out of that, and all of a sudden it's there.
It works.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's
Thanks,
interesting that that's lace.
That's the lace
Yeah.
panel that was made in the early 17th century.
Very nice.
Each of those figures is about 9 centimeters square.
It's interesting with the carnivals in Europe. They're very satirical, and they do depict a lot of politicians and take the satire out of that as well. It's just interesting because sometimes some of our carnival entries over here get criticised for various reasons, but I think if they went over to Italy or France to see some of the entries over there, they'd be amazed and shocked.
Yeah.
Thanks for your question, Jill. I wanted to ask about the skills transfer that goes on within Carnival. Presumably a lot of the people are bringing their day-to-day skills to Carnival, if they're professional carpenters, professional painters, but also I imagine some skills are passed on within the Carnival. Is that the case? And what?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's what's marvelous about Carnival. You do learn a new skill. Certainly young people have come along, and we've had people 14, 15 years of age and just want to be involved, and because they're learning from people with the experience, they soon pick up the craft and go on to develop that within their careers as well. It's a fantastic opportunity because they're learning whilst they're having fun, they're doing something that they enjoy doing, and realise that they're learning that skill, that craft as a result of it. It is wonderful. And to see people take up welding or take up engineering or take up carpentry, and not just the you know, the traditional you know, your thoughts of carpenters you know, might all be male, but they're not. A lot of the girls now are using power tools and saws and what have you, and you know, their abilities are fantastic. And we had several young ladies working on the pageant cart who are using chop saws and drills and getting involved in electrical work. When I joined Carnival in 1967, it was very much a male-dominated organisation, and you know, it's changed so much over the years. It's now more or less a female-dominated organisation. But no, everybody's got talents, everybody's got skills, and why shouldn't they get involved in it if they want to? It's a great opportunity for everybody to show what they're capable of doing.
The girls were always there, but they were just secretive about it.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Not so secretive now.
No.
No.
And it's fantastic. It's great. Yeah.
It's an amazing
Come out and
legacy.
do my DIY anytime, you know.
Amazing legacy of good that's happened through Carnival, that's
Yeah.
kind of filtered through all parts of the community, it sounds like. And yeah, you should be very proud